Yeah, so I am actually not a big Beyonce fan. And I've said this multiple times, but when we're simply talking about like who deserves things and like why they would deserve it, so that article I found was really great. But I actually found Apple Music. So Apple Music, they have really great writers who write the descriptions of the albums. So we're just actually going to read what they wrote about all of these albums, because Beyonce has been working for 25 years. she finally won Album of the Year, and there are some of you guys who are like, nah, she doesn't deserve it. Like, who do you think deserves it? Because there's a bunch of losers who won, and all of us have been sitting here like, she definitely should have won. Anyway, so let's start with Dangerously in Love. Came out in 2003. Beyoncé Knowles wasn't exactly taking a huge commercial risk when she stepped out from Destiny's Child for Dangerously in Love in her 2003 solo debut. Her star was already eclipsing her bandmates, landing high-profile movie roles and collaborating with her extremely famous boyfriend Jay-Z on 03 Bonnie and Clyde. Although the group would not disband for another couple of years, she definitely stretched herself. Though Crazy in Love, the Chai Lights sampling, Jay-Z starring single that all but redefined R&B for that year, was more reckless, than more challenging and more enduring than anything the star had done in the group's context. It was a statement of intent that she has more than lived up to since. The world-beating single wasn't the only moment here with staying power either. Baby Boy grafted her presence and performance to that of dancehall king of the moment Sean Paul and matched the commercial success of Crazy in Love. Yes. Naughty Girl was thoroughly convincing in its interpolation of Donna Summer's Love to Love You Baby, recognizing prior soul and dance music greatness and turning it inside out. Splitting the difference between styles and foregoing the mistakes made by other aspiring divas, she also carved out plenty of time for ballads. Standouts on that tip include the near title tune Dangerously in Love 2, a Destiny's Child handover that helped the album's long legs running, and The Closer I Get to You, which paired her with R&B titan Luther Vandross. Interesting. The fact that Dangerously in Love may be overshadowed in her discography is more of a testament to the way she used her untouchable star power to push boundaries and subvert expectations for a pop star. Each subsequent solo project pushed further in different directions at once, to the point where even the term pop star didn't feel like an adequate container. But nothing on that journey could have been possible without a confident first step. That was her first album. Let's go to B-Day. There's like 3 versions of this. B-Day Deluxe, B-Day Anthology Video Album. I forgot that was a thing. Okay, so let's just replay this. So B-Day, the Anthology Video Album. I forgot that this happened. It does have videos for every single song. There are 12 tracks here, and actually I remember all of these music videos, but I didn't realize that this was an entire video anthology album, but yes, it was. Anyway, so let's read about B-Day. Glamorous girl bursts out. Beyoncé Knowles has certainly had her funky moments. Need we even mention Crazy in Love, but until B-Day, she's never laid so many of them end to end. With producers Rodney Jerkins and Rich Harrison, who hooked up both Crazy and Amory's One Thing with vintage funk soul samples, B-Day is the superstar trying on one street-ready style after another, and they all fit. Whether a thumping chant with clipped delivery, Get Me Bodied, or a playful duet with friend Jay-Z, Upgrade You, which posits Beyoncé as competition for Mary J. Blige's in the No Nonsense sweepstakes, She handles the material with aplomb. These may be her best, most assured performances. Even the two ballads, Irreplaceable with its steam team hook and Resentment, which draws heavily on Curtis Mayfield's Think, feel like they have dirt on them, and Beyonce wears it well. I kind of want to read if did they write anything about this? So no one wrote anything about the anthology video album. Maybe I'll write something about that because I forgot that she did that. That was in 2006. So moving on to 2008, Beyonce, I Am Sasha Fierce. From the first set, If I Were a Boy and Disappear are acoustic, down-tempo tunes. On the opposite end, her larger-than-life voice is perfectly suited to the sonic enormity and melodrama of Halo. Beyonce is one of the few performers who can swiftly shift from a song like Ave Maria to the booty-shaking uproar of Single Ladies, and her sass and swagger matches the fearsome throb of Diva. I feel like they kind of missed a lot of the points there, but that's okay. Let's move on because there's just so much more here. So moving on to 2011, we've got 4. So long, Sasha Fierce. Queen Bee goes back to the future with a 4th album that trades some of her strutting blockbusters for timeless mid-tempo finger snappers, Love on Top, and slow burning ballads 1+1, Best Thing I Never Had. Not that 4 is in any way a banger-free zone. Party Pack's squelchy 90s soul and the major label sampling Run the World Girls totally brings the house down. Ooh, these aren't very good takes at all. They should get better writers. Let's see what they have to say about self-titled. Okay, this one has a lot. So Beyonce, self-titled. 100 Best Albums. When Beyonce's self-titled 5th album landed unannounced on the iTunes Store in December 2013, the pop world trembled. Here was one of music's biggest stars dispensing with the normal prolonged rollout of a major work, instead simultaneously alerting people to it and releasing it. This was a visual album with every song accompanied by a short film. Only made Beyonce's flex more impressive, changing the game for how artists would handle releasing new music in the digital pop era. Surprise drops became something of a norm, not just for pop's top tier, but for any artist with a devoted fan base. The month's advance notice for Renaissance seems almost quaint by comparison. But Beyonce would have been a career achievement even if it had been released in an old school way. Across its 14 tracks, Beyonce pushes herself artistically and emotionally, opening up about her insecurities, her sexuality, and her happiness over songs that demonstrate the strength and versatility of her voice. Years after its release, Beyonce remains a touchstone not just for Beyonce, but for any marquee artist who wants to break from expectations. With Beyonce's forward-thinking, collaborative approach to creating art, aiding its one of the moment, not yet stuck in real-time feel. Opening with Pretty Hurts, a soaring ballad that dives into body image issues that even the most revered women have to endure, even as young children, and closing with Blue, a swaying ode to her first child who makes a cameo on the track. Beyonce reveals where the pop star's mind had wandered after the release of her Monogamy Inflection 4 2 years prior. Eroticism is a large part of Beyonce, both in sound and in subject matter. The spiky, giddy duet with husband Jay-Z, Drunken Love, and the slow Ram Rocket are two of the most carnally delightful entries in Beyonce's catalog, while the massive Jealous examines what happens when desire fuels her inner strife. The exploration of grief, Heaven, the ferocious pop feminist anthem, Flawless, and the jagged statement of artistic intent, Haunted, fill out the emotional and musical spectrum. The videos too run the gamut in both style and feeling, with pretentious directors like Hype Williams, Jonas Åkerlund, and Melina Matsoukas creating companion pieces for each of Beyonce's songs. The Williams-directed video for the gently funky Blow is a roller rink fantasia. The Åkerlund-helmed clip clip for the Dreamy Haunted Channel's Madonna's groundbreaking 1990 short film Justify My Love. I didn't know that. Through Beyonce's 21st century Luxe aesthetic. Pop sound has shifted at the turn of the decade with electro-pop influenced tracks like Spaces on the radio and on the charts, where Beyonce and other R&B leading artists had ruled during the 2000s. On Beyonce, the singer and mogul showed that radio player no. She was still a member of pop's ruling class, and she did so not by flip-flopping pop's script, but by drawing inspiration from its most enticing aspects while writing a completely new playbook. Beyonce did feature cultural ruling collaborators like Drake, who plays B's foil on the Skeletal Mine, and Frank Ocean, who locks up Beyonce on the sumptuous Pharrell Williams production Superpower. But Beyonce's willingness to explore music's edges and revel in its greatest moments resulted in the album existing on its own plane, aware of the pop world's trend, but diverging from them in thrilling ways. Beyonce represents a major turning point for Beyonce, beginning with the stage of her career where she would define pop stardom not by chart placement, but by following her own artistic path on her own schedule and on her own terms. That's 2013. We still got 10 years of work. Lemonade. 100 best albums. There is one moment critical to understanding the emotional and cultural heft of Lemonade. Beyonce's genre-obliterating blockbuster 6th album, and it arrives at the end of Freedom, a storming empowerment anthem that samples a civil rights era prison song and features Kendrick Lamar. An elderly woman's voice cuts in. "I had my ups and downs, but I always find the inner strength to pull myself up," she says, "and I was served lemons, but I made lemonade." The speech made by her husband Jay-Z's grandmother Hattie White on her 90th birthday in 2015 reportedly inspired the concept behind this radical project, which arrived with an accompanying film as well as words by Somali-British poet Warsan Shire. Both the album and its visual companion are deeply tied to Beyonce's identity and narrative, her womanhood, her blackness, her marriage, and make for her most outwardly revealing work to date. The details, of course, are what make it so relatable, what make each song sting. The project is furious, defiant, anguished, firm, vulnerable, experimental, muscular, triumphant, humorous, and brave. A vivid personal statement released without warning in a time of public scrutiny and private suffering. It is also astonishingly tough. Through tears, even Beyonce has to summon her inner Beyonce roaring, "I'ma keep running, 'cause a winner don't quit on themselves." This panoramic strength, lyrical, vocal, instrumental, and personal, nudged her public image from mere legend to something closer to real-life superhero. Every second of Lemonade serves to be studied and celebrated. The self-punishment in Sorry, the politics in Formation, the creative enhancements from collaborators like James Blake and Karen O, but the song aims the highest musically, maybe Don't Hurt Yourself, a Zeppelin sampling psycho rock duet with Jack White. "This is your final warning," she says in a moment of unnerving calm. "If you try this shit again, you gonna lose your wife." In support, White offers a word to the wise. Love God herself. That was 2016. Let's move on to 2019. This is Lion King, The Gift. In the lead up to the release of The Lion King, The Gift, a collection of music inspired by the 2019 reboot of the classic Disney film, Beyoncé remarked that the project was meant to be a love letter to Africa. As executive producer, Beyoncé made it a point to solicit contributions from artists spanning a number of the continent's many culturally rich traditions and regions, including Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, and South Africa. The album, in fact, is a separate project from the film's official soundtrack, but that doesn't stop Beyoncé and a cohort of hand-selected talents from telling that timeless story of Pride Lands through song. Not unlike the film, The Gift chronicles a saga of personal growth, filtered through some of the brightest stars in Afrobeats and Afrofusion. Artists like Mr. Easy, Yemi Alade, Burna Boy, Tiva Savage, Tenko sing in multiple languages about embracing blessings, staying the path, and rising to your own majesty. Family is a consistent theme, with Beyoncé singing to her children on Bigger, and then about her father on Find Your Way Back. She's procured contributions from some of her favorite US-born MCs like Kendrick Lamar, co-star Childish Gambino, Tiera Kennedy, and of course the man co-captioning her husband, her household, Jay-Z. The Gift, then, is a compilation of talents both African and Afro-diasporic, strong enough to buttress the throne of the woman we've come to know as Queen Bey. That was in 2019. 2022. Okay. Renaissance. Unique, strong, and sexy. That's how Beyoncé wants you to feel while listening to Renaissance. Crafted during the grips of the pandemic, her seventh solo album is a celebration of freedom and a complete immersion into house and dance that serves as the perfect sound bed for the themes of liberation, release, and self-assuredness, and unfiltered confidence come across in 16 tracks. Renaissance is playful and energetic in a way that captures that Friday night just got paid, anything can happen feeling, underscored by reiterated appeals to unyoke yourself from the weight of others' expectations and revel in the totality of who you are. From the classic 4-on-4 house moods of Robin S. and Big Frida, sampling lead single Break My Soul, to the Afro tech of Grace Jones and Thames assisted Move, and the funky roller skating disco feel of Cuff It. This is a massive yet elegantly composed buffet of sound, richly packed with anthemic morsels that pull you in. There are soft moments here too. I know you can't help but to be yourself around me. She coos in plastic off the sofa, the kind of warm whispers in the air love song you'd expect to hear at a summer cookout, complete with intricate interplay between vocals and guitar that gives Beyoncé a chance to showcase some incredible vocal dexterity. Church Girl fuses R&B, gospel, and hip-hop to tell a survivor story. I'm finally on the other side. I finally found the extra smile swimming through the oceans of tears we cried. An explicit celebration of blackness. Cozy is the mantra of a woman who has nothing to prove to anyone. Comfortable in my own skin, cozy with who I am. Beyoncé muses on the chorus, and on Pure Honey, Beyoncé immerses herself in ballroom culture, incorporating drag performance chants and a Kevin Beyoncé sample on the first half that give way to the disco-drenched second half, cementing the song as an immediate dance floor favorite. It's the perfect lead-in to the album closer, Summer Renaissance, which propels the dreamy, escapist disco of Donna Summer's I Feel Love even further into the future. And we are ending with Cowboy Carter. There's a lot here. This is 2024. Is that one? Yeah. Genres are a funny little concept, aren't they? Linda Martell cackles at the beginning of Spaghetti. Perhaps the name of Linda Martell isn't a household one, which only proves her point. She was the first Black woman to perform at the Grand Ole Opry, but her attempt to move from soul and R&B into the realm of country in the 1960s was met with racist resistance. Everything from heckling to outright blackballing. Beyoncé knows the feeling, as she explained in an uncharacteristically vulnerable Instagram post, revealing that her 8th studio album was inspired by a deep dive into the history of Black country music, following an experience where she felt similarly unwelcome. Cowboy Carter is a sprawling 80-minute tribute, not only to those pioneering artists and their outlaw spirit, but to the very futility of reducing music to a single identifying word. Another key quote from that post: "This ain't a country album. This is Beyonce's album. This is a Beyonce album." It's more than a catchy slogan. Anyone looking for mere honky-tonk cosplay is missing a much richer and more complex point. Listening in full to Act 2 of the presumed trilogy, Baby began with 2022's Renaissance. It's clear that the perennial overachiever isn't merely gone country. She's interrogating what the word even means and who merits its designation. on American Requiem in a deep voice and as earthy as Texas red dirt. The Houston native sings, used to say I spoke to country and then the rejection came, and I wasn't country enough. She nods again that she's done before. She nods again as she's done before on songs like Formation to her family ties to Alabama moonshiners and Louisiana Creoles. If that ain't country, she wonders, tell me what is. Good point. With subtlety and swagger, she contextualizes country as an offshoot of the Black American musical canon, a storytelling mode springing from and evolving alongside gospel and blues. Over wistful pedal steel and gospel organ of 16 carriages, she tells you what it's like to be a teenage workhorse who grows into an adult perfectionist obsessed with ideas of legacy, with a bit of family trauma buried among the riffs. On Yaya, Beyoncé explains the scope to rock and roll at its most red-blooded and fundamental, playing the parts, both Ike and Tina, as she interprets the Beach Boys and slips in a Playboy Cardi reference, yelling, "My family lived and died in America, good old USA, whole lot of red, in that white and blue. History can't be erased." That's a Playboy Cardi reference? That's crazy. I don't listen to it. Anyway, a Patsy Cline standard goes Jersey Club mode on Sweet Honey Bucking with the verse from the similarly genre-flouting Shabuzi and a quick note regarding Renaissance's Grammy fortunes. AOTY, I ain't win. I ain't stunned. About to take that shit on the chin, come back and fuck up the pen. Oh, that's funny. I don't think I've listened to this album enough to like get these references. Who but Beyonce could make a crash course in American history feel like a party of the year? Facts. There's the 1-2 punch of sorely needed slumber slow dance numbers. The Miley Cyrus duet to Most Wanted with its whispers of Fleetwood Mac, followed by Levi's Jeans with Post Malone, the In Those Jeans anthem filling the radio's genuine shaped hole. Renaissance's euphorically nasty house bounce returns, albeit with more banjo and river dance, where Two Hands to Heaven floats on the clouds of 90s electronica for an ode to alternately riding wild horses and 24-inch spinners on candy paint. Sorry, that is so Texas. That's like strangely and very specifically a Texas reference. Houston, Texas, baby. There are do-si-do ditties, murder ballads, daddy issues, whiskey kisses, hungover happy hours, cornbread and grits, Beatles covers, smoke breaks, and on Daughter, what we may or may not be a wink in the direction of the artist who won Album of the Year instead. There is also a Dolly-approved Beyonce-fication of Jolene. Let's just read that again. There's also a Dolly-approved Beyonce-fication of Jolene. That is a great way to describe that song. To whom the protagonist is neither saying please nor begging on the matter of taking her man. Your peace depends on how you move, Jolene. Babe purrs, ice in your face. Is this a genre-bucking hoedown, a chess move, a reckoning, a requiem? If anyone can pull it off, it's Cowboy Carter, as country as it gets. Okay, so that's like 25 years of Bay history, right? I gotta be honest still, definitely not my favorite female artist by even a stroke of a pen, but I feel like I said, like Beyonce is to Black America what Taylor Swift is to white America, except like I think we gotta broaden this lens even more, because I feel like there is all of urban America who clearly cannot identify with upper middle class Beyonce, and no part of her song tries to bow down. Like she's not trying to like sexy red talk to these people, but they have like urban aspirations to be like her, right? And when I'm saying urban girls, like I should make a video to better describe this. It's the there's like these London girls. They're like kind of wannabe R&B artists, but they all come from like the London projects, and they like keep putting out shit. Isn't like Amy Winehouse is not a good example of this, but there's like a couple girls who were like mentored by her, and they are all in this category. Like Georgia Smith is a really good example of this. And there's some other ones, but I don't listen to them, so like I don't know exactly their name. I'll look them up and I will share. But they have like Beyonce ambitions, so even they listen to her. That's a very large pop. Actually, like Adele, Adele's from London and is a part of that like group, and she has talked about it kind of multiple times if you go listen to her older interviews. But they have like Beyonce ambitions as well, so that's a very large part of her fan base. Then you've got the gays love Beyonce. That's a whole like she has these pocketed groups of like people who just identify with her narrative in multiple ways, and she has told this story many times. I really do not appreciate though how I think a lot of people do not understand. Like, I personally cannot relate to, there's like Dangerously in Love, B-Day, I Am Sasha Fierce, Force 4, or even Beyonce. None of those albums I relate to. Like, I feel like that whole era of Beyonce for me was like, she's so boring. Like, I don't even know what the fuck this is. This is like girls who like don't go outside. They just like, I don't know. It's like they're not great writers, and they don't have any therapy, so they can't produce Taylor Swift-esque songs, but they still have like feelings about shit. At least in Beyonce though, I will say the visuals are great. Like, I remember when that shit came out and the whole world stopped and got on like immediately and saw that those visuals were crazy. Like that was like, I don't know if you guys remember so there was one song, I think it was called Yay. I think it was like 40 seconds, but it was Beyonce having the biggest supermodels in her video. It was like all the black supermodels were in this 40-second video, and it was just like the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was like, oh my god, like everybody liked that shit for like different reasons, because I think it just depends on like where you were, but it was called, was it Jealous? I can't even remember. I'll put this video in, it's called Beyonce. It was the Beyonce video. That shit was like 40 seconds, but it was just like, what just happened? There were all the other ones too. There's the one where she's like running across the beach. That was really cool. The visuals for really all of them, like EXO, that was really good. Mine, she had some really great dancers in Mine. That was a complete ballet performance that was in a music video. That was crazy. And then I think she went on tour with this. I think actually someone might have given me a ticket. I think I went to this tour. Someone gave me a Beyonce ticket, and that was actually really close, and I think I might have gone to that tour. But that was great. That was like insane. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure you've heard all of those albums, but I would encourage you to like think a little bit deeper about like the messages of those albums, and maybe I'll like do my own writing. I don't have the time. I think there's so many better things to write about than the boring history of like Beyonce's first 5 albums, but you can't deny the cultural impact of it. I feel like she spoke to a voiceless audience. And that is significant, because like look at the other people who won album of the year. Like, if we're being honest, every other person in the country category, all of their albums are way worse than any one of like Beyonce's first albums. So they're just as boring as all those, and they were like in the category. So I mean, if you're like a hater on the Cowboy Carter, which had like the other thing too. This is the thing I didn't understand about Renaissance. Like, the reason I moved to Nashville is to understand like songwriting. So at this point, given all the like, writers rounds that I've been to, I could talk to you for like some weeks about fucking good writing. And Renaissance had crazy writers. Like, every person who is like known in the writing world wrote on Renaissance. So for that to not get anything, that just says that y'all hate writers. Like is racism bigger than writing? Like, I don't even know. Because like, if you look at the credits on that record, that's insane. Like, I'm talking about like writers. She had like every great producer and every great writer work on Renaissance. And if you go back and listen to Renaissance, I'm not saying, I mean, I don't know. Harry's House was really good. And I think that socially and culturally, like white America needed Harry's House and it did something. But Renaissance is its own thing. Like that album, like I think every year will get better. Like if you go back and listen to it right now, it's like crazy. Like it's like sonically, it is really good. Anyway, yeah. Oh, also Lemonade. I feel like they did not say enough about Lemonade because then Lemonade did something else with visuals that we hadn't seen before. Like I forgot. I guess I just didn't pay that much attention because maybe it was like an at the time thing. But B-Day was actually the first album that she did where she put out music videos with every song. So everyone's writing this story of like self-titled was the album with all the visuals, maybe because they all dropped at the same time. But it was actually B-Day. This was her second time doing that. And I saw some of the other Beyonce stans who gave some comparisons to this. So it's like, I will say also, if you guys haven't seen this, on one of her documentaries, someone like clipped it in. There's like these Beyonce researchers anyway. But she has some documentary and there's like a 4-second clip where she kind of takes you into this like research vault that she has. She has like a literal, it's like an underground vault with music history. It's like her own museum of music history. And she was talking about like how she does research to produce this shit. And it's crazy. Like she has like a PhD in like musicology. And I feel like Lemonade was a really great example of that because the references there, it's crazy. Like Lemonade is literally like a course in Black American history. And I've never seen that I've seen a lot of documentaries, I've read a lot of textbooks, but I've never seen anything like that. And I think a lot of people hated it because obviously like people can't read and also racism, but like, I mean, there's a bunch of reasons, right? But for me, Lemonade is when I became a fan. I was like, that was crazy. I like watched it and I've never purchased any Beyonce anything. I like purchased it on Apple Music. It was like $30 or something. I was like, I'll pay. I just want the movie. The movie was so good. Anyway,